Season 4 touched down like a plane crash. Meanwhile, a new alpha build brings us closer to, quote, fixing professions in WoW. Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, where everything turns out mostly okay by the end. You can support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catching me live on Twitch. Season 4 launched with a bang that almost made it all fall apart. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry for bringing that up like twice, but I gotta call it like I see it. The first few days of Season 4 had a pretty rough start with almost too many bugs to mention. What affected me personally was me opening my new time walking cache a little bit too early, I guess, and I received a Season 2 piece of gear. The truth, though, is that I accidentally opened it as the wrong specialization. I opened it as a ret, and I got a two-handed weapon. Whoops. So when Blizzard fixed the bug and gave me a new box, I did open it as the right spec, and I still didn't get anything good, but the takeaway is that things got better. But yeah, what else was jacked up? Crests weren't being distributed properly, some gear couldn't be upgraded, some gear could be upgraded more easily than it should have, dungeon bosses had like 10% of their intended health, damage over time for some classes was completely broken, and here's a shocker, the realms weren't even up on time. The takeaway though is that, well, it's the weekend now, and gaming law dictates that by the weekend everything's basically fine. It's fine. I'll do a more robust review of the checklist of things to do in the upcoming reminder video, but for those who haven't jumped in, here's an idea of what to expect, at least this week. A lot of gear. In fairness, there's outcry over there being a season cap on crests. I mean, it does sound weird, right? It's the final season. There's no new raid, the stakes are pretty low, and there's a popular feature coming in just a few weeks, so how about some latitude, right? Not to mention the Boolean being a little bit slow to start, the half spark for crafting each week, and so on and so forth, but in truth, never before have I seen such a pinata of like raid quality loots. Here's the short summary, alright? What you want to do is do the weekly quest in Valdrakken to do all the Dragon Isles activities. So you're going to do the soup, the siege, and the hunt. Then you want to do the world boss over in the Primalist Future. You want to do time walking, as in the dungeon and the raid, and then do Raid Finder, and you're going to get gear. From veteran all the way up to hero gear. What huge upgrades to your season 3 sets. You're gonna have a full crafting spark by then too. You wanna do that for a nice bump. And then next week, yeah, you're only gonna get a half spark, that's a bummer, but we will be able to buy our first Boolean piece of gear, maybe our favorite trinket or weapon, and then of course there's whatever we get in our vault. I look at this as like kind of the closest that we'll see to the game just dumping gear into our mailboxes, while stopping short, of course, of giving that sort of vibe of invalidating our efforts so early after season 3, and we're gearing for this season 4 pinata, which it kind of is, but not quite, so we're getting both sides of the frustration, and it's really quite nice. It feels like the WoW team has delivered on their dungeon promises. Heroics do feel harder, and Mythic Zeros, well, those will wipe the floor with unprepared teams who were hoping that the changes were a little bit more than exaggerations. The challenge feels appropriate for the gear, and funny enough, thanks to the item level jumps this season, we kind of have a good feeling of how it's going to be like gearing into a new expansion as well, but one question has been nagging in my mind. If Mythic Zeros give champion gear, will Mythic Zeros still be part of the pre-season content at the start of an expansion? Because it was before, but in the past they gave adventure level gear, at least the equivalent, and they were much easier to clear, of course. So how would you feel when the War Within launches and for the first 2 weeks, aside from zone content, it's just heroics? You can't even do Mythic Zeros for practice. I'd love for you to share your thoughts, and let's move on. There will be no Blizzcon this year, and maybe for the foreseeable future. And we're all doomed. In their statements, they said in the typical corpo speak that it was a hard decision, but yada yada yada, there's no BlizzCon. Now, they are planning multiple global in-person events to commemorate the 30th anniversary of WoW, along with what they're calling in-game celebrations across our Warcraft games throughout 2024. I'm still a little bit bummed though. Before this, I was saying over and over again that the stars are aligned. 20 years of World of Warcraft, 30 years of Warcraft, and you know, WoW's 10th expansion, and it's going to be epic, but there are certain realities that I guess we're gonna face. BlizzCon was once centered on World of Warcraft, and like it or not, it's no longer the case. And with all these different Blizzard games, including WoW, there's a risk of compromising game development in favor of showing everything off in their one big show in November. On the other side of that, there's a risk of having a crappy show if game production doesn't happen to line up with what they would like to present during said show. A good example of this actually would be World of Warcraft, which is now trying to position itself to launch expansions every 20 or 22 months instead of 24 or higher. Just like last year, we can no longer rely on on-the-floor playtesting, and if there is, it might not be so off from what the general public will be experiencing in just a few short weeks. It's becoming more questionable if the efforts of those limited playtests to a small audience scheduled around a very demanding show are still worth it. Or just Microsoft said so. How about that? I'm still a little bit sad though. Global in-person events means that folks like you might not have to travel all the way to the United States and California, but we're also not all going to be in the same place. Something might happen down over in Anaheim, and it might be awesome. I have very fond memories of my time spent at the Mixer the day before Blizzcon, meeting all sorts of people who are taller than me, and overall, more people may have that opportunity. There's just a little something about having tens of thousands of fellow fans at your side. Okay, I was in a booth at the time, but you feel me, right? And yet there's the most important venue of all. What's going on in game? What's this year's 20 or 30 year anniversary going to be like? I hope it's not just show up every hour to kill a random boss for loot. The upcoming remix is shaping up to be a pretty awesome looking event for us to relive one expansion's experience. What else might be in store for what's going to be in patch 11.0.5? The future is looking pretty sweet. With 10.2.7 and the MOP remix on the way, it looks like the WoW team eventually came through on its desire to give us a few more character slots. We'll be able to make 5 more characters on their accounts when the patch goes live in less than 2 weeks. So what characters do you plan on making? Now, personally, I'm not big on alts, and my mission in this remix thing is collections, so I'm probably going to roll another paladin for comfy leveling and fast queues when I feel like doing dungeons or raids and stuff, and tanking rares if they don't get rolled over by my extra abilities or the mob of people who are probably zerging these rares alongside me. Also, some exciting news for transmog lovers. The infamous Tusks of Manoroth shoulders might, as in might, have a special way to earn them during the Mists of Pandaria remix. Data mining revealed the existence of a cosmetic and quest item related to unlocking these shoulders. Even though it's a cosmetic, it is still plate, keep that in mind. Now, the quest item could lead directly to the shoulders, or it could start some cool little quest line to earn them, but it sure looks like a reason to at least have one go at the remix. And character services are on sale up until patch day. Now, I don't mean to shill, but it really isn't that bad of an idea to kind of stock up for those just in case days when you're like, okay, maybe I want to play as a different race or something, or new class combos open up, that sort of thing. I'm still wary about faction changes though. I feel like the time's going to come when our faction will no longer matter at all and we're just down to race changes. Now, I just hope that in any case, any prepaid services for stuff like that are turned into, I don't know, Battle.net Balance or coffee cards or something like that. Also, there's a new alpha build, so check your client, not your email. I have to admit that as of this recording, I didn't do much of any coverage of the new zone or other changes. I'm just kind of looking as I go, but I did take a look at what's most important to me. As a Professions fan who wants to help you love them too, this build introduced some big changes for how crafting works that I think is pretty easy to understand if you're interested. And if you are, I have a quick video on how it works. I'll link that in the description. Right now though, I want to kind of re-describe what's changing with Professions from the point of view of the client, the person who's looking to have gear made for them, as in, the majority of players. In the War Within expansion, you, client person, will be able to put in a crafting order or, talk to a person off trade chat and ask for, say, a rank 5 piece of gear to be made. The crafter, the other person, they will tell you the cost based on the materials that you provide, then you put in the order and a rank 5 item is delivered to you. It sounds pretty simple. It sounds like that's how it's supposed to be, right? Unlike Dragonflight, you're not going to hear anything extra this time around, like, hey, there's a chance that it might not be the rank that you want to be, so you're gonna have to resubmit mats or pay me extra because I need an inspiration proc or use an insight instead, or whatever it is that they tell you, and I guess you're expected to believe them. But in the War Within, and I admit that I'm not explaining very much, basically you could just ask and you will get the item that you want. However, there is a catch. At the current state of the alpha, it's likely that any given crafter will only be able to make so many rank 5 items in a given day or a play session, meaning that it can become your problem finding a skilled crafter, and they're going to have an opportunity to charge you a lot, maybe, because I estimate that the demand for rank 5s far exceeds the maximum output that even the entire crafting community can do. The catch is that if you want a rank 4 item, like a few item level less than the max, that's going to be like super cheap for a crafter to do once the profession community starts warming up, because you'll be able to just shop around for a good deal, and most crafters are going to be able to make a rank 4 fairly easily. That's the impression that I have based on the alpha so far, which is to have full transparency, no deception for you, the client, probably a bit of competition, and potentially higher prices for the best quality items. And also a renewed opportunity for public orders to ask for specific ranks of items. Now that could be cool, but I guarantee you that if that happens, it's going to be a crafter's market, and they're not going to put up with some jank-ass tip for a mythic rank 5 item. But as we learn more, I'm going to share with you my feedback. Outside of that and the Earthen Race being available, there weren't any outstanding new features to test out, and everything else is full of spoilers. So far we're on schedule testing out one zone per week, so the beta may come along before you know it. For now though, that's the show, but there's more to look forward to with Avarice rolling in as the next raid thing, Bullion gear next week, Children's Week, and Dragonflight's final patch just around the corner. Let's give a very warm thanks to our friends over on Twitch and to Patreon, and of course to you, viewer. You made it to the end. You fed the algorithm. So now, like this video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live on Twitch, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.